This is the Slow Wardrobe. Come and have a look. Hello, welcome to episode 89 of the Slow Wardrobe podcast. My name is Linda. I am your host. In this episode, I'll give you an update on my knitting, and then we'll be straight into an update on the current Layercake pre-order, the top extravaganza that is running until the end of Monday, the 27th of March, 2023. But apart from showing the tops that are in that pre-order, the segment is really about where and how you can style your Layercake tops across your Layercake wardrobe. So I'm showing it with lots of different colors and lots of different styles. So I hope you find inspiration in that. But first off, the knitting update. So yeah, here it is. You may have seen, I've shown you here, but you may have seen on Instagram as well that I was working ferociously to finish this steeked cardigan. In the course of knitting it top down and trying it on as I went, I of course discovered that I was going to be pretty happy with the fit. So I then got super motivated to finish it as quickly as I can because I wanted to wear it. And truth be told, from the day I finished it, I've been wearing it non-stop every day. I walk to the studio and I tend to take it off under my coat because of course it's wool, so it's quite warm. So I just have whatever top or dress I've been wearing, my chartreuse love dress. I then take the cardigan off, put my coat on and march to the studio. That stops me from really overheating with the cardigan in between. And then when I'm at the studio and I'm not moving around that much, or I sit behind the computer doing work, I cool down, and then having that extra layer is wonderful. It's got 3/4 length sleeves, which are my favorite. It is cropped to the point that it finishes just above the pockets of the dress, which makes the pockets, of course, very accessible. And you can see here actually with the pockets just underneath. So that works really well. And in terms of proportions, on me, it looks really good. I'll show you some pictures here that I've taken of me in the outfit because, of course, you cannot really see on the mannequin how it sits on me. It just looks really big and oversized on her. But on me, you can see that for my proportions and for my size, it sits really nicely here around the chest. And as well, in terms of circumference, there's still enough positive ease here to not make it look too fitted on top of what is otherwise a loose outfit. So there's enough room there, but it doesn't add much bulk around the top bit, which is what I wanted to avoid. So for those of you who haven't seen on Instagram the photographs that I've been posting, again, I'll put a close-up here of a photograph of the buttons that I made because I decided that actually I would find it really difficult to choose buttons that would suit the rest of the cardigan without making too much of a focal point. Because throughout the knit, I wanted the multicolored yarn that is in the middle of these stripes to be the focal point of the cardigan. And I wanted everything else to carry those colors and hold that multicolored, slightly shiny yarn up as the focal point. So by then putting different buttons on, I thought the buttons are going to take away from that. And then, of course, I remembered Dorset buttons. Dorset buttons, again, I'll show you a photograph here of lots of different ones. But Dorset buttons are buttons that you make yourself with the yarn that potentially you've been knitting with. You can use it with any yarn, of course. But in the case of wanting your buttons to blend in with your knitting, and especially with me wanting to ensure that my multicolored yarn would continue to be the focal point of the cardigan, what better way to achieve that than to make buttons in that same yarn. So a Dorset button consists of a little metal ring that you, with a blanket stitch for want of a better word, you cover the ring with blanket stitches with a needle, cover the ring with blanket stitches all the way around so that the metal is gone. So the outer edge of every button is that ring. Then you fill in the center of the ring with spokes by winding your yarn around the outer edges of the ring and keep moving around as you go. And depending on what kind of design you're after, you vary the number of spokes that you make with those circles of yarn. So theoretically, you can fill up the entire button by doing that lots. But once you have finished the spokes, however many you want, you catch them in the middle of the center of that ring, where they all, of course, crisscross, and center them by going through, up and down with your needle in different places, and that pulls them together into the center. Of course, the more spokes you have, the more careful you have to be that you catch every spoke, because if you don't catch one of the spokes, then you do run the risk of it slipping off back off the metal ring, even though that metal ring is a lot less slippy because it had all the blanket stitches put around. So once you've got your spokes carefully caught in the middle, you can then continue by stitching in and out of the spokes, going round and round from center to the outside, and cover the button that way. I did that. In my case, I made 12 spokes, and I covered those completely in yarn in the way you're supposed to do it. You can find Dorset button tutorials on YouTube if you want to see that more closely. And I remember Fruity Knitting the Fruity Knitting podcast did a wonderful interview with TJ Frog, that is a Dorset button maker based on Skye, wonderful customer of mine as well, and she does Dorset button courses. She sells Dorset button kits, so I highly recommend her as well. I finished my buttons and then thought, well, actually, I would like them to stand a bit more proud of the cardigan rather than having flat buttons. How can I make them a little bit bulbous to remind me of the little baubles that I put at the edges of my sleeves, my hemline, and my neckline? And then I thought, well, what about some French knots? So I gave every button 6 French knots on top of the button. I'll show them again here in a close-up. And that, of course, raises the middle and creates almost this little bouquet in the middle of the button. That's how I finished them. Made 9 buttons because I've got 9 buttons on my cardigan. The reason I put so many buttons on was that I theoretically wanted to be able to wear this cardigan without a layer underneath. So if I want to be able to do that, I need enough buttons to really keep that front neat. So I put lots of buttons on, and of course that also ended up creating that extra highlight yet again with my multicolored yarn. So really pleased with it. The Dorset buttons do take a lot of time, so you have to be patient, and especially if you make 9. So I did that last weekend, worked on it throughout the day, and here it is in all its glory. I'm absolutely thrilled with it. It's not an existing pattern. I just started knitting knowing about stitch ratios from other yoked jumpers that I've made, and based on my gauge, I had a good idea of the number of stitches I needed and how fast I needed to increase my stitch count. I actually went wrong with that and then had to, again, I'll show you a picture here. I had increased too fast, and rather than when you fold it double, you should have about a half circle with your shoulders either going straight or slightly sloped down, but mine went up, so I had more than a half circle, and that then creates far too much fabric at this level. So I had to take that all the way back, and I recalculated my stitches, re-knitted them, and of course, because it was top down, I was able to keep trying it on to make sure that I got it right. And the second stitch count was perfect, so I kept going until I was at the right place to separate for the sleeves. And then the rest of the cardigan, I just kept the number of stitches. Well, I cast on some stitches underarm, but then kept the rest of the stitches straight, so it's going straight down. It's going straight down the sleeves. I did not decrease, again, on purpose, because I like the idea that there is always a little bit of extra space in the 3/4 length sleeves of the Love dress. And I wanted to mimic that in the cardigan. So I wanted to have that extra width, again, to help highlight that beautiful edging with the little baubles. So making that a feature, and by making the sleeves look like they are fluted, even though they're not, they're just straight, but they look fluted towards the bottom, and again, that highlights that edge. So if you think I should turn it into a pattern, let me know. I'll need some help because it's just so much work to grade it, and I would like to grade it because, like the clothes, I would like to offer it in more than one size. But if there's a demand, I'll go for it, and I'll call in the troops to help me finish that. So that's my finished object. I then also have 2 works in progress to show you. You remember that I showed you these socks that are the skew pattern from nitty.com, and I found 1.5 sock finished in my stash with half a sock left to go, and I thought I had abandoned it because it is a less straightforward knitting pattern to do. So I finished it, and then discovered that actually the reason I hadn't finished them was because they were supposed to be for my husband and they don't fit him. So when I see my daughter again, I will ask her if she's interested and if she fits them, if they fit her rather. If they do, then I will open them up and knit them to a smaller size because her feet are smaller. So I stash dove again, and I found a very, very old, deep stash. I'm talking 10 years plus. Skein of Fiber Spates sparkly sock yarn in the colors Crayons 2, and it is a sock yarn that I think it's merino silk nylon. I think it has 360 meters per 100 grams. Do I have the tag here still? Yes, I do. 380 meters per 100 grams. So it's ever so slightly heavier than most of the sock yarns I use. So that, together with a slightly thicker needle, a 2.5 millimeter needle, was enough to give the sock just that little bit of extra circumference, especially around the bit where it's tightest, which of course is here, to fit properly. Here's the old Fiber Spates label. You can see, very old one indeed. And this is the first sock. I've tried it on, he's tried it on, and it fits him perfectly. So I am motoring away on the second sock, and I'm just about at the point where I need to do kind of, it's a very clever pattern. And I'm getting to a point where I now need to turn this into the right hand sock, which is going to have a heel here. And that heel, of course, is shaped and written in the opposite stitch direction of, because this thing is not completely symmetrical. You've got a left hand sock and a right hand sock, and it involves a little bit of grafting at the heel. So I'm about to turn it apart from the tip of the toe into the right hand sock, and then I can finish up the rest of the leg. So my guess is that if I put my back into it tonight and tomorrow evening, then, you know, they'll be finished and he'll have a new pair of socks, and he finally has his coveted second pair of skew socks. The skew socks that he already owns are absolutely threadbare, and they really need replacing, and they are his favorite socks in the world. He loves the fit of them so much. So another pair of skew socks, and there may be a third pair in the offing after that. Now that I'm going on the pattern, I'm actually quite enjoying it. It's not difficult, and because of the diagonal knit and everything, it seems to grow really quickly. And it keeps me interested, keeps me engaged. So that's one work in progress. Second one, last one I'm going to show you today. Oh, I have to tell you about, because this is another little crochet bag, crochet pouch. And of course I was working on the knitted crochet pouch. The knitted crochet pouch. The knitted version of the crochet pouch. I have had some customers contact me and say, Lina, can we not do a knitted version of this pouch? Because I don't crochet. I thought, well, I have to come up with a stitch that doesn't stretch. Because of course crochet doesn't stretch the way that knitting does. And I'm about I cracked it. I've actually come up with a knitting stitch that does not stretch. It doesn't stretch vertically and it doesn't stretch horizontally. But especially on the small needles that I'm working on, because of course it's being knitted on 2mm needles. Oh my gosh, it's a labor of love. It goes slowly and it's easy to lose your place. Even though the repeats are easy. It's a 4-row repeat, but reading the knitting, because of the way I'm building the stitch pattern up, is not easy. So I was making very slow progress, but I thought, come on, I've cracked it. I need to keep going. And then it occurred to me when I was looking at it again earlier this week. It's like, yes, now I have a fabric that doesn't stretch, but it doesn't actually matter if the knitting fabric can stretch a little bit, because I'm lining it in linen. I'm lining it in woven linen, and the woven linen, of course, doesn't stretch. So it doesn't actually matter how stable the knitted fabric is. It's nice if it's smooth and firm, but it doesn't have to be completely non-stretching. That's just a mistake in my thinking. So I'm going to start it again. And I do apologize for the delay that this is causing. For those of you who are waiting and hoping for a pattern soon, it is coming, and it will be coming a lot sooner now that I've realized that actually I can work with an easier stitch to work and an easier stitch to knit, because I don't have to turn it into a stitch that doesn't stretch. So that then ensures that you don't end up with a knit that takes forever because it's so slow. And what I'm going to try and do is work with a stitch that at least slightly reminds us of the look and feel of the crochet stitch of the little crochet pouch bag, so that they don't look completely differently. So I'm hoping to work on that this weekend as well, because now that I've got my head around that, of course I'm dead keen to start. Meanwhile though, I had last week started a new little phone pouch. And the reason that I started it is that I've got some new colors coming in the woven linen. And to fit in with those new colors, I had ordered some yarns that then can be knitted or crocheted into accessories to go with the colors of the linen. And one of them is, I don't think I've got the extra colors here. No, I don't. Don't have the, oh yes I do. Ooh, I've got color number 4. This is a gradient that has 7 colors in it in total. It's a combination of 2 4-color gradients. This is the first 4 colors, and it goes from dark gray to this beautiful duck egg greeny blue. And then this duck egg is going to go into another gradient, and it's going to finish with this beautiful very light eau de Nil. It's gorgeous, really gorgeous. So I thought, oh, it's a really, really exciting way to show off that gradient if I crochet it into these dense little stitches of the bag. So that's what I'm doing. And as you can see, it's got an ever so slightly conical shape because of the slight decreases that take place in the course of the knit. I think it's really beautiful. It has that slight bulbous shape. So I'm nearly done with color number 3. This is color number 4, and then there's going to be 3 more above it to the top. And then of course I know exactly what I'm going to line it with, but I will show you that later. Meanwhile, I have one more photograph to share with you that one of my customers who bought the kit for the phone pouch in the cottage garden colorway sent me, or she posted it on Instagram. And what she did, because every kit has got plenty of yarn, you will have got yarn left over at the end of crocheting or knitting your phone pouch. And she used that leftover yarn to weave a strap on an, I think it's called an inkle loom, or yeah, I think it's called an inkle loom, inkle strap or inkle loom. I'll put the proper name down below. Completely forgot to look it up before I started blathering on about it. But here's a photograph that shows the back in the background, the bag in the background, and the strap in the foreground. So it's an alternative to using the woven linen straps that match the lining of the bag and sewing that into a shoulder strap. And instead she has that a woven strap to turn into a shoulder strap. I think it is stunning. So just an idea for those of you who do that type of weaving. I've never tried it, but my friend Helen, the one who has woven that beautiful blanket that she gave me for my birthday, she's got an inkle loom, and I'm going to have a go. I'm going to have a go and try and weave one of those straps to go with one of my bags, maybe even this one. We'll see, and I'll keep you posted. So that's all for my works in progress. Of course, I'm going to line up a new jumper or cardigan. I don't know yet whether I'll be knitting for myself or whether I'll be knitting something new for my husband. I'll have to have a think. I have a couple of jumpers that I've bought already. I've bought the pattern and I haven't started them yet. One of them is this beautiful, I won't even try to remember the name, but I know that the designer name is Tomomi Yoshimoto. I'll put it down here, and there is the jumper. I think it is stunning. I think this might be a slightly heavier yarn version, and then there might be a thinner yarn version as well. This is the pattern that I bought, but then she came out with that other one. So I need to compare yarns and then decide which of the two, and I may have to buy the other pattern as well to knit it in a finer yarn, because as you know, I prefer my knits not too bulky, and this 4-ply, that's about as bulky as I like it ideally. Although I must admit that I adore my Fair Isle cardigan that I knitted last year in the Hot Butter yarns, the cardigan Astrid by Jackie Bogg. I love that as well, and theoretically those are DKs, so that is a little bit heavier, but that's about as heavy as I like to go. I prefer that or lighter because I just get more wear out of them. I just get too warm otherwise. So that's it for my knitting. Enough of my blathering about my knits and my preferences. I will let you know next time what my next project is going to be, because I'm sure by then I will have made a start. And let's dive into the layer cake. Enjoy. Yep, I'm in magenta, top to bottom. It's taken a number of years before I would wear this color. When I had my colors done a number of years ago now, I was told that this was one of my top colors to be dressed in top to bottom, and I was quite distraught. I had been brought up with the idea that very bright pink was a horrible, very common color, so I felt a bit condemned that this was one of my best colors. That has changed enormously. I've properly embraced pink, and now this really red, rich pink is one of my favorite colors in the world. All mindset. And that's what I'm always trying to impart on you when it comes to different outfits and different color combinations and different shapes. You can wear so much more than you might think you can, both in terms of color combinations as well as in different shapes. I'm wearing a size 2 shirt, part of the top extravaganza pre-order that we've got going on at the moment. shirts, love tunics and love tops. I'll be showing all the colors that are part of the promotion, worn with different layer cakes, some of which are the layer cakes that have just come off pre-order, the summer tulip dresses. You can see the fig tulip dress there on your right, and just in the picture there is the mist tulip dress. I think the mist might be after the blood orange, might be my favorite color, but it seems to differ a little bit one way to the next. When I just put this on, I thought, oh my gosh, I love this. These are my own magenta baggies, and I've thrown a shirt on in size 2, which of course is a bit oversized for me, and I really like that oversized fit, as you well know. And just the whole outfit in magenta. And if you think that that's a little bit too much, then of course you can throw one of the love tunics over the top, which calms down the overpowering top of the magenta shirt. Or you can of course change the baggies. I'll start by putting a different top, one of the love tunics, over the top of the shirt, just to show you how good that looks together, and how you can layer those tops into high heaven as well as your other layer cakes. And here it is, a bit of the magic of layer cake layering, because this is a size 1 tunic in the natural color over the top of a size 2 shirt. And you can see it's not bunched up anywhere. It's fine to wear it like that. They all kind of fit in and on top of each other, and you'll find that with different layer cake sizes that you may have at home as well. You're not stuck with always wearing the same size. Depending on your mood, depending on the outfit, depending on how you combine your garments, you could wear different sizes together. So now you might say, well, if I want to wear a light top on top of the darker trousers, then why wear, that bright shirt in between? Well, that might be a case of temperature, or the fact that you like the idea of bringing that pink back. Of course, you can just do that with a scarf. When it warms up, I could lose the shirt and have a little pink scarf at the top to bring that pink back, and just have the natural love tunic, wearing that with a bright color pair of baggies. I'll show you now. So imagine that the temperature is higher. I'm just wearing this nice, loose and airy size 1 love tunic together with my trusted baggies. Nice and airy. Of course, I can then wear shorter baggies if I want to have more of a cropped look and I want to show a bit of leg. Or I can just pull my baggies up and wear it right at the bottom of my bra band. They'll stay there quite happily, and it creates a little bit of a cropped look. Try that. You might find that because of that very easy elastic waistband, you can just pull them up like that and they'll stay there. Bit of an experiment, and worth trying if you like that cropped look for summertime. And I'm showing it without a scarf, but of course I can very quickly add one to show you what difference it makes if you make that pink come back at the top. And here it is with a little scarfie. See? So very plain, very simple, just keeping the whole thing very uncomplicated in terms of color combinations. So the reason that I started, I wanted to tell you that as well. The reason I started with the bright pink, with the magenta, is that I discovered kind of by accident that it's actually a really popular spring color this year. The shops, I was in London last week with my daughter. She wanted to buy herself some new clothes, and we ended up being bitterly disappointed with the high street offering. I think it's diabolical at the moment. Maybe that's just me. So I do apologize if you're quite taken with the high street offering. I really wasn't, and she wasn't either. But one of the things that jumped out to us is that almost every store has the bright pink, the magenta, as an accent color. So I don't know whether it's a coincidence, but yay, because of course it's a color that I love. So moving on, and I'm going to stay with the neutrals. I thought I would show you, instead of the Love tunic with the bright baggies, go for the shirt in the natural color, just to show you what a difference it makes in this color to have that slightly different silhouette. So here's the shirt in a size 1. As you can see, quite fitted around the bust. Like I told you in the last couple of episodes, I'm right on the cusp of a size 1 being too small for me because I've grown over the winter time, but I can just about fit into a size 1 still, but it's starting to be quite fitted on me, as you can see. Just to show you how the difference in silhouette is between the size 2 shirt and the size 1 shirt on somebody like me. I find that the silhouette remains quite similar, but it feels, of course, more fitted, and that's where I go like, oh, I'll go for the bigger size anytime. I love that loose fit. But just to show you that, nothing much more to say. I'm going to move away from the magenta into calmer colors, keeping going with the theme of the lighter spring colors. Here we go. A play suit in the natural check. Can't get much more neutral than that, apart from going, of course, for a very plain color. But I wanted to keep a little bit of variation here at the bottom and not go too monochrome, because I want to start playing with some of the other colors. And I'll start with one of the new herringbone wrap jackets, the Joy jacket. Here's a Joy in the chartreuse herringbone, worn open so you can still see the shirt. In terms of sleeve length, the sleeves of the shirt and the sleeves of the jacket are about the same length. I've just left them down, but of course you can then, of course, fold that up and get the natural to come back. Just showing you bringing some color in, but keeping it quite neutral. Of course, I can tie this up as well and wear it closed. Here we go. Bring in some color, wearing the collar of the shirt over the top of that little folded, kind of tulip shaped collar of the jacket. And of course you can see at the back the bottom of the shirt peeping out. In the front it's slightly different with these different angles on purpose to keep it really interesting as a layering silhouette. So let's strengthen that color a little bit and bring in a little bit more chartreuse, because of course chartreuse is one of the colors that across all 3 of the tops, the top, the tunic and the shirt, is one of the colors that's on pre-order. Here it comes. What do you think of this? I've got the Love top in the chartreuse over the top of the neutral color of the shirt. Of course, I could play with colors and make the shirt color a lot stronger, but I really like that, with the stronger color of the Love top, you really get the emphasis of that sweeping hemline, kind of replicated in the sweeping hemline of the shirt. Now, of course, the shirt is a little bit wider than the top. This is a little bit more fitted, if you like, but that also depends a little bit on your shape, how that sits on you. Again, it's something that's worth trying. I will now swap the top for the tunic. Same size, same color, same shirt. There it is, shirt hidden by the Love tunic. Again, I can play with my sleeves here if I like. I get the neutral coming back at the top of the tunic, bringing the trouser colors back into the rest of the outfit. And of course, I have a much bigger field of chartreuse here. Now, if you like that idea, but you don't want it to dominate that much, like I said, you can then just bring the top down. But of course, the other thing you can do is remove the shirt and wear a Love top over the top of a Love tunic and just have that band coming out here. If why don't I show you? Love top over love tunic. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out, when you're wearing two of the same size and you find that it's all a little bit too bunchy and too tight, by folding both of the sleeves up, or you just like the idea of the color combination but you find it too short, then only fold up one. If I just fold up the sleeve of the love top and I leave the sleeve of the tunic as it is, I get that same color pop at the end of my sleeve, but without shortening the sleeves, as you can see. So my color pop is in the middle here, so I can show either a little bit of the chartreuse at the top here or not, depending on how I stagger those two tops around the neckline. If you don't want chartreuse right around your face, of course you don't have to, but it's coming back here a little bit further down the outfit and still makes a really nice statement. So this is a size 1 love top over the top of a size 1 love tunic over the top of a size 1 in the long length of the play suit. Now, of course, I could wear a chartreuse top underneath the play suit, then play with the chartreuse herringbone jacket over the top, and in that way I could pull the whole outfit together. And of course, with that chartreuse and that natural playing together, having the chartreuse play less of a major role by wearing it underneath my play suit. So you can give it as much or as little as a featuring role as you like, or just literally have it popping out on edges to give an extra bit of an emphasis, if the weather, of course, dictates that it's useful to have that extra layer. The options are really endless there. So I'll keep moving and I'll move on to the next color, because we've got a couple of colors to go still. There's, of course, the new blue stripe, and there's still white as well. So I'll keep going and I'll try and bring in some of the dresses that we've just had in the pre-order in the bright colors to show how they combine with some of these tops. Cerulean tulip dress to divide and split up the blue stripe in the shirt shape from the play suit that I've still got on. The reason I've done that is that this particular blue has a stripe against the check of the play suit. Am I getting away with it? Is a combination that is not one of those 1 + 1 makes 3 combinations, but they don't really add anything to each other. This particular blue is not in the play suit. There are bluish colors in the play suit, but in my opinion, they don't pick up on each other enough to make a wonderful combination. However, the blue is made with undyed linen and blue for the stripes, and of course undyed linen features rather strongly in the natural check as well. So by putting a color that picks up on the shirt, the other color of the shirt, in between, I can bring back the natural look of the shirt with the play suit, even though right next to each other the play suit and the shirt are not a fabulous match. See what I mean? So this is the shirt. What about one of the other tops? Let me show you the... Oh, actually, what about wearing the shirt underneath the dress so that it is still bringing back that neutral, but with more of the dress in the foreground? I'll show you. There it is, cerulean dress on top of the blue striped shirt, worn together with the play suit to bring that natural neutral back at the bottom. Another good combination would be the steel herringbone in the baggies, for example, or steel palazzos that would bring that lightness of the shirt back again as well. Not that you have to. Of course, I could just drop the play suit away from this and wear it as more of a summery outfit. I'll do that in a minute, because the other thing that I wanted to show you is that you also can go in between. I had the shirt all the way over the top of the dress. Now I've got the shirt inside, but of course with the dress I can do that same kind of layering that I was doing with the love top and the love tunic, or the love top and the shirt. I could wear a love top, that more cropped, shorter version, over the top of a dress. Let me show you that, since I've got the blue dress on now anyway. So here is the cerulean dress worn underneath this stripy top. Again, like I said, you can see that sweep, and it just makes the outfit look like a little skirt with a top to go. Now this is the kind of combination that you normally don't see me wear. It's because it is too middle of the road for me, just a little top with a little skirt. That's not really my dressing style. I would immediately add a pair of baggies to that, to say the least, but that's just my personal like, and I realize that not everybody dresses the same way, obviously, so I want to show you a completely different option here. And of course I can put that top underneath the dress. I'll quickly do so. Here it is underneath. In terms of proportions, an outfit like this on me personally works better, as you can see, and it would be even better if I turn up the contrast. So this is quite soft in terms of contrast, even though this blue is quite bright. But one way to turn up the contrast would not necessarily just be, oh, let's go back to magenta, but even if I just swap this top for a white one, and I may create more of a contrast with that blue. I'll show you so you can see what happens. White and blue, bam, there we go. Sharp contrast, picking up on the white in my hair, of course. And if you think, oh, I quite like that, but not quite that sharp, then soften the edges, because I've done something sneaky. I've actually kept the blue striped top on underneath the white one. So if I fold up my sleeves here, there it comes peeping out. And even that blue is not exactly the exact same color blue as in the dress. It's close enough for them to enhance each other. So I can bring it out here. I can then do my little trick in terms of necklines and bring out the stripe around my neck to create the softness of that color again, rather than, I can't actually see what I'm doing, as you can tell. So it's an interesting trick to perform when you're wearing 3 layers, but you can get the idea here by, I've told you before, you drop the shoulder line of the bottom top back a little bit, the shoulder line of the top forward a little bit, and then the shoulder line of the dress kind of in the middle. That keeps everything in place. They nicely stick to each other. And there's my stripy edge back on my shirt, as well as on the sleeves. I think it's such a good trick. What do you think? And it really changes the way the outfit look. It makes that white a little bit less severe. It literally softens the edges. But let's keep going. Let's bring in some other shapes, even if we keep playing with these same colors. Here we go. The white shirt, the love tunic in the stripe, bringing out the edges to create a bit of a nautical feel to this outfit, with the navy jersey baggies, and then bringing that white and blue at the top back, the strength of the blue back at the top with little scarfy. So same colors in terms of the 2 tops that I'm wearing, just a slightly darker blue and creating a bit of a nautical theme, picking up on the stripes and with the cuffs and the collar. So we can keep that nautical idea going, but it doesn't necessarily need the shirt. That's just an option. But let's loose the shirt and see what it looks like then. Stripes on top. Same scarf, just a white Love tunic instead of the white shirt. So the collar is gone and still that same kind of look and feel about it. There's a reason, by the way, that I wanted to highlight with this stripe. Of course, we could have made that nautical feel a lot stronger by using, for example, a darker blue, or instead of an undyed linen, going for a white linen or another very light color. But the idea of this top is that the softness of these colors, they hint at that theme, but it doesn't have to be worn that way. So I didn't want to make it an out and out nautical top. I didn't want to go for a Breton top, but it kind of winks in that direction. I hope you mean what you understand what I mean with that. I think that by keeping it this soft, it really broadens the reach of a top like that, and you can wear it with a lot more different outfits without having the feel that you're wearing a Breton stripe, if you know what I mean. But by dressing it like this, it can have quite a Breton type feel and look about it. So let's keep going. I'm going to show you a little bit more of the white top. There's me with my contrast again. I love the cleanness of the white against the dark blue, and I don't know how strongly this comes across, but white linen is never optical white unless it's been chemically treated to be so. This isn't, so it's got a slight milkiness to it, and therefore never be completely white. If you want a super white, then our cotton Love top, that is an optical white, and the Anytime top as well. They're both really bright white, and you can keep them that way if you wash them carefully. Don't put them with other colors in the washing machine, and you can keep your whites white. With this linen, that is less of an issue, and that makes it very easy care. As you know, you can treat linen quite harshly. It likes high temperatures. You can iron at a very high temperature, but washing is possible with very warm water as well to get stains etc. out, and stain removers, you can throw stain removers at it as well. It is quite hard wearing, so where maybe with other fabrics you're a little bit more hesitant to buy white or buy light colors, you don't really have to worry about that with linen. So I really recommend especially something like the Love Tunic, which is so versatile and can be worn over the top or under so many different garments. Same goes with the Love Top as well, of course, if you prefer that cropped look. So, bit more color right towards the end. I promised you some more of the summer dresses in the picture, so here's the first one. Here's the cerise, worn together with the white Love Tunic, and the other thing I've put on is a pair of the grey cotton stretch baggies, the beautiful lighter grey color, which of course is super neutral. So if, just like I said with the cerulean dress, I wouldn't like the idea, either because they don't have a tan yet or because I don't like the lines of the outfit. If I don't want to wear the dress without anything underneath and having my legs showing, then wearing a pair of the cotton baggies, especially if you go for a color this neutral, can change the silhouette without demanding a lot of attention. So that color doesn't have to be exactly the same as the top. Of course, if I swap this top for the natural color, the undyed, then it goes very close to the color of the baggies. In fact, I'll do that just to show you the difference. And again, they're not identical, but they're very close in having that neutral beigey gray, the greige color that suits pretty much every complexion and is a wonderful natural backdrop for a bright color like this cerise. Here it comes. So here is the grey cotton stretch baggies with the natural Love Tunic, just showing you how close the colors are. Like I said, not matching, but very close, and they go really well together. So if you have one of these sets with the Anytime top, for example, then throwing over one of these in this complementary color makes a lovely outfit. But as I said, I will throw over the cerise dress to show you how cerise goes with that gorgeous natural undyed linen. And here it is. Cerise, of course, in the starring role here, very clearly, but with the lovely neutral kind of backdrop of the natural undyed linen to kind of present it, and an altered silhouette of wearing the baggies together with the dress. What do we think? Shall I bring the chartreuse back a little bit still? Because of course you've seen it in the beginning with natural and neutral colors, but what about chartreuse with something as bright as this? Well, let's have a look. Chartreuse and cerise, and then still with that really neutral pair of baggies underneath. So if you think, well, actually, if I go this bright up top, then I want more brightness underneath, then of course you've got lots of different options. There are brighter baggies, for example. Let me just grab these. I think I might have shown these in a previous episode. I think the apple baggies together with the cerise dress and then bringing the chartreuse at the top is a lovely combination. But if you're not that green inclined, then of course you could go for something like the magenta, wearing that together with the cerise. Magenta and cerise have a color in common. Cerise has got a pink together with a raspberry, and magenta has got a pink and a raspberry. Cerise has got a purple and a raspberry. So that raspberry color they have in common. So they look wonderful together. That goes for the blood orange as well, which I'll bring in a minute. So bright colors all around, nothing to tie them together, but their brightness ends up doing all the talking, and they're really beautifully complementary. These guys, of course, being very close to each other on the color wheel, and then having the chartreuse as a contrast from right across the color wheel. A beautiful combination together. So let me bring in the blood orange as well, right at the end, and show you blood orange with a couple more combinations. I thought I'd start it really simple again and build it up from there. So what I've got on are the palazzos in the extra large, so they're super roomy and lovely and flowy on me, and then worn with the chartreuse love tunic. Isn't it a gorgeous combination? You can then of course do something with black at the top if you want to, but I think sometimes keeping it really plain and really simple and let the shapes do the talking works really well. Pair of trousers, top, done. And then of course you can bring in other garments as well if you want to, but the plainness of this outfit and really letting the shapes do the talking together with the color. I was talking about neutrals as a backdrop and I went really light, but neutrals as a backdrop going black dark is another really good alternative. So where's that dress then? Here it is. Blood orange. Added the dress, didn't change anything else. Again, the backdrop of the black, gorgeous. And then just the chartreuse and the blood orange worn together. So I can then dress it up again with more colors. For example, the large check baggies or a smock in the large bright check, for example. They would go really well. Anyway, the combinations are endless. The one thing that I did want to show you is again the magenta against the blood orange. So let me put my magenta baggies back on so you can see instead of the heavier black, you can see these bright colors with a bright color at the bottom as well. So here it is. And of course I can then choose to bring in my scarfie again, bring the pink back at the top, the color of the magenta with something either bigger or smaller around my neck. This could be a necklace, of course, instead of a scarf, but it just echoes the magenta from the bottom of the outfit back at the top. Now, this is, of course, a good color for me to wear next to my face, so I can really emphasize it that way. But if magenta isn't, then you can wear it like that at the bottom of your outfit, and by not bringing it back, you're still in magenta without emphasizing it right next to your face. So I think I've taken long enough. I forgot to point out completely that the magenta version of the top, the Magenta Love tunic, is on Madam right next to me, so I haven't tried that on. And the other thing that you've missed in the lineup is the chartreuse shirt, but as I said, and as I said in the newsletter as well, that's definitely part of the top extravaganza. We just haven't had a chance to make it in time. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I've inspired you again. As per always, let me know if you want to see particular color combinations or garment combinations, either in the podcast or on an email with different swatches of fabric, for example. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you again soon.